Huck's in a microwave approach, focusing out stalkers one by one.
Coming in from every single angle. There's a Time Warp, but look at this concave, this crescent moon.
This is what's going to happen now. The supply goes in Huck's favor.
He's just going to barrel through, take out whatever. So much pile here coming forth.
Looking like Nestea is going to take it here.
Dancing the roaches a little bit. Scarlet.
Now the Hydras are exposed. Those units are going to die, and it's not really going to make that much of a difference. GG.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello from New York City and welcome back to WCS America Premier League. This is day number 2 of 8 of the round of 32. I'm Axel Toster, my AxLab. We got some more awesome StarCraft today, Mr. Nick.
That's right. Of course, there's a lot of great players in the Premier League. 32 players, 24 were invited.
Yes.
8 players qualified to that qualification tournament to round out some really intense groups. Some of the best from the Americas and also a couple of the best from overseas as well.
Of course, WCS Korea, WCS Europe, WCS America. There's literally StarCraft going on every single hour of the day. I was tweeting yesterday, I'm like, where would be the perfect place to live to be able to watch all of it and then be able to actually sleep at least 6 or 7 hours? Someone told me the middle of the Atlantic, which I don't think is feasible. But the point is, if you want to watch StarCraft, it's on all the time. And I'm super excited for WCS America because these are the guys who are trying to make it through some Koreans who have decided, you know what, I want to play. I want to play in the America division. But they're having trouble so far.
They definitely are. Of course, this is your players in the groups.
Yep.
A lot of great players. You mentioned some of these great Korean players. You know, we've got Heart, Revival, Oz, Alive, SDC, Crank, Alicia. I don't even mention all of them, like Ryung, etc. There's a lot of great players. But there's also the top NA talent as well. You've got Huck, you've got Idris, those famous players. You know, we saw Vibe yesterday to second place in WCS NA. We've got Scarlet. I think in there somewhere.
Yeah.
A Major as well. Major playing over in one of the Pro League teams and her teammate. A lot of great players here.
You know, a very identical format to Europe and Korea. So if you've been following those tournaments, this is very similar. Only 16 can advance from these 32 names. Of course, let's talk about what happened yesterday. We had the STC, Snoot, Vibe, and Theognis in Group F. And a lot of people were saying the STC and Snoot would make it out of that group, and a lot of people were right.
That is definitely correct. You can see there STC went 2-0, but he did drop 2 maps, winning both series 2-1. So,
and not only that, he literally lost the first game in both of them, and then he came back and won 2 in a row, which is honestly pretty cool to see. It's very entertaining matches. Again, if you missed those matches, they're available right now in 1080p HD, youtube.com/official MLGSE2. I know a lot of Europeans are probably tuning in right now, but they might have to go to bed in a match or two, which is fine. You need your sleep, you get to work tomorrow, but just know that the VODs will be available on YouTube in 1080p an hour to 2 hours after the stream goes down. And again, a reminder, every single one of these round of 32 matches is absolutely live. So don't freak out about that. I know we had some people yesterday who were a little bit confused about that.
Definitely, of course, that's what happened yesterday. Today, we're on to Group E, excuse me. And this one, we've got Minigun, Nestea, Phoenix, and Apocalypse. I think the big story here is going to be the 2 Korean players, Nestea and Apocalypse. A lot of people are predicting them to do very well, just like we saw the STC do very well yesterday. Is that going to be the case, or are we going to see a potential upset?
You know, this is honestly one of my favorite groups. There's so much potential here for upsets and potential storylines being made. I mean, you have Nestea, who's the king. Well, no, probably maybe the queen. Is that fair to say? A Wings Liberty, of course, everyone considered MVP the man, but Nestea was definitely up there. They traded a lot of blows. You know, plenty of GSL championships. You know, again, over $250,000 made in prize money. And then you got him in a group with Minigun, you know, the North American guy who came from nowhere. He had no RTS experience. He picked up StarCraft 2, I think when it came out, even after the beta. So he hasn't been played long at all, lives in North America, he's American. You know, can he make it through this group? We got Phoenix, who knows what he's doing. I mean, a lot of people are saying he's in Peru, he's on Team IM. He's definitely come here to try to prove himself. And we got Apocalypse. He's one of the first Korean players to join a foreigner team, join a non-Korean team, an American-based team in Quantic, and he's trying to get those solid results so he can really get respect from a lot of people. But I know a lot of people are predicting Nestea and Apocalypse to get out of this group, but we'll see. Minigun and Phoenix, they definitely came to play.
They definitely did. I think I'm really excited to see Phoenix play because Phoenix is one of those players that he's won so many events in the past. In 2010, 2011, he was like the premier player of actually maybe even entire, well, Huck and Ninja were doing very well back then too, but at least of the South American continental area. Phoenix was pretty much the premier guy. He's kind of dropped out lately. Like, we haven't seen Phoenix with those great results recently, but he said he's back now, he's practicing a lot, and he's really eager to prove himself yet again in this WCS stage.
Of course, again, as you said, the first match is going to be Minigun versus Nestea, and a little bit about the format. The winners play each other, and then the winner of the winners gets that spot in the round of 16. The losers play each other, and then the winner of that plays the loser of the winners match, and the winner of that gets into the round of 16. So only two can advance. The first match is going to be Minigun versus Nestea. Minigun from Root Gaming, Nestea from Team IM. And this, it's like David against Goliath. I think a lot of people would call this match. We got two completely different players, completely different backgrounds. They both got here in completely different ways. And a lot of people are saying Nestea is going to take it.
A lot of people are, but I think one thing you have to keep in mind is Minigun is such a strong player online. In fact, if we talk about his results, in online tournaments, Minigun has consistently done insanely well. When he shows up to the live event stats, where he often kind of falls a little flat. I mean, everyone remembers his most recent online accomplishment, defeating Idra 3-0.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Definitely, a lot of talent in those online games. And anyone who's played him in, IEM qualifications from 2012, in MLG qualifications, knows this is one of the guys to beat in an online competition. And this stage of the tournament is still online. This round 32 is going to be online. He's playing on his home turf, where he's comfortable in his home, his own computer setup. And that's where Minigun is, of course, the scariest player.
Yeah, Minigun has been, he's one of the guys who's been in America for the longest time. That's where he started. That's where he is right now. He started off in Root Gaming, and then he moved into Complexity once Root and Complexity made that merger. And then eventually, a year later, when Root reformed, Minigun came back and rejoined Root Gaming. He's going to try to take vengeance for his teammates, the Ognis and Vibe, who were knocked down to the Challenger League yesterday. But definitely going to be an underdog story here as he's going up against Nestea. And again, you can't really introduce this guy because pretty much everyone watching should know his name. And if you don't, you've not watched StarCraft.
To be fair, if you take a look at Nestea's accomplishments, one thing they all have in common. They're insane accomplishments. First place in multiple GSLs. 3 different GSLs. This guy's won first place. But it's all in 2010, all in 2011. This guy was pretty much one of the 2 premier players of the world in those early stages of StarCraft. But in 2012 and so far in 2013, he hasn't had that same success. So, maybe it's a time where you can upset this guy. In 2010, 2011, would a guy like Minigun have a chance against Nestea? No, he wouldn't. But it's a new era now. It's a new game, Heart of the Swarm. I think this is a great stage for a potential upset.
Guys, now is about the time to get on Twitter, get on Reddit, get on Team Liquid, get in the Twitch chat, join the conversation, because we are about to begin another epic night of StarCraft 2 in WCS America Premier League round of 32. Again, only 2 can advance from the stacked group of Nestea, Minigun, Apocalypse, and Phoenix. Match 1 is about to begin. I'm going to ask the players if they are ready, and then I'm going to hit that start game button. The first map is going to be Daybreak. Who do you got? Who do you got? I got to ask you. Nestea or Minigun? I'm making you make the decision.
I can't do it because the big question in my mind is, does Nestea still have what it takes?
Yeah.
He's proven that he used to be a champion, but in the last year, he hasn't won any big titles. Does he still have what it takes to take him down? Or what's actually more relevant, does he have what it takes to qualify for the big events? I mean, a player like Minigun, you could say it's a step down for what he's used to playing, but he also has been playing at that premier level for a while now. What is his current condition? I really don't know. And that's what I'm really excited to find out about.
All right, here we are in game number 1. In the bottom left-hand location, we have the red Protoss player representing Team Root Gaming. If he were to win this match, no one would deny it would be a pretty severe upset. He is Chad Minigun Jones. hailing from the USA. His opponent in the top right-hand location, a legend of Wings of Liberty. Can he carry over his form into Heart of the Swarm? Deciding to participate in the WCS America region rather than stick around in Korea. He is Nestea, representing Team IM. So, I'm on Root Gaming, as I actually joined the organization 8 months ago or something as a caster. I would cast their community events. So, you know, I know Minigun fairly well, and I know he's been practicing. He's been trying to figure out, you know, how the heck do I beat Nestea? And he's been having trouble. Like, I'll be completely honest, he's been having trouble coming up with a build. He's been watching games everywhere, trying to decide, okay, what do I need to do? Of course, coming off a DreamHack, you know, Leenock taking victory there. Naniwa, everyone's thinking, okay, did Naniwa figure out the matchup? Oh my god.
Oh no.
I mean, I was gonna Minigun. I'm trying to predict what he's gonna do, but now everything is just gonna change from here.
What a great move by Nestea. I mean, when you're one of these top Korean favorites, I really like getting to Gateway. Getting to Gateway before the Forge is a brilliant decision when you get hatchery first at your natural like that. But what it comes down to is, like you said, Minigun is studying Nestea's games, and he's trying to come up with a plan to beat Nestea. And he has, you know, from Nestea's point of view, he has to assume Minigun has this pre-planned out technique to take him down, right? And the best way to throw somebody off of a pre-planned technique is right off the gate. Throw something crazy at him like a hatchery first in your natural. And what's cool, this is kind of a crazy move, but it's not like a cheesy, risky move, right? You just drone scout fast, you have the opportunity to put the hatchery down, and you know, you basically slow their expansion, you slow your own expansion, and it's gonna come out, you know, maybe relatively even. You're not gonna fall far behind though. So, and then you just play your own game after that, after you throw them off a little bit. And that's exactly what Nestea's going to do here. I think he's just going to play a standard game, but from a little bit of a weird spot. And the weird spot is going to throw Minigun's pre-planned, you know, build off.
So we've just seen the second hatchery here from Nestea being placed at his opponent's natural expansion. You can't make this up. We got a queen in production as well. What he would love to do is get a creep tumor down with that queen. Ideally away from that cannon and start that creep spread, which would delay this Nexus even more, and I think he might be able to accomplish that.
What's tricky here is, of course, is getting that creep tumor alive. So what we're going to see is the queen walk by the minerals and then try to place a creep tumor behind it in between the mineral patches and prevent the zealots from getting around and getting access. Of course,
Minigun moving his zealot to the left-hand side.
Exactly. He's got to stop that queen from... Oh, the queen doesn't even get out.
Wow.
Great moves by Minigun, barely killing that hatchery in time.
We got some links coming out. He's trying to block the ramp. 2 zealots are going to be still alive, and 2 zealots, you can manage 6 links
Yes.
for sure, especially with that cannon support. Even a 3rd zealot coming out here for Chad.
Yes, he shouldn't take significant damage here, but of course, you know, Nestea, this isn't all in, right? His second hatchery's on the way, his extractor's being built, and Minigun can't even build his Nexus until all that creep disappears from the natural. Yeah. So he's got a little ways to go, and it's really going to throw, you know, Minigun's build off. And this is something that Nestea is probably more ready to deal with than Minigun, because you can only assume he's played from this position many times before.
Yeah, I don't see him really doing that, but you know, that's a very interesting point in and of itself. Why does Nestea decide to go for that? Does he want to make the game evolve in a weird way? And if he believes he's the better player, why would he necessarily want to do that? And then there's the other point of view where, you know, has he practiced this over and over again? How much experience does he have with this type of play? Like a player like Katz, where he's happy to completely, you know, change the state of the game in the early stages to give himself that advantage, because he feels so comfortable when it gets to that point. And the question is, how comfortable is Minigun facing against this? And I wonder, how many practice games have Minigun and Katz been having, right?
This is true. One thing about this style, which is why one of the reasons Nestea chose this, is an opening like this really breaks any Protoss timing build. The Protoss timing builds are timed to like this specific second of when everything finishes. And when you do an opening like this, it'll throw that build off, and it makes it very difficult, almost impossible, for almost any Protoss player to really come up with a great timing attack off this opening. And that's one of Minigun's strengths, is that he has a lot of scary timing attacks. So Nestea's kind of taken that option out of Minigun's roster of potential abilities. Look at this.
Interesting placement of those gateways. I mean, it seemed like he wanted to hide those. It seemed like he thought he could kill the Zergling when it was on the left side of the Nexus, but now...
I think he did.
I mean, the Ling just scouted it all. So this looks like some sort of a 4-gate pressure here after the expansion here from Minigun. As we said before, it's going to be a little bit delayed. Meanwhile, Nestea has his speed about to finish. 16 Lings in production, so I don't necessarily know if this is going to work or how much Minigun is going to commit to this.
Well, he's got +1 weapons about to finish, and what's really cool here is the Roach Warren is just started. If he can warp in 4, 5, 6, 7 Zealots, the Speedings won't stand a chance. So it's all about getting these proxy pylons up. If a Zerg wants to defend us with Speedings, they can't let those pylons get up. But
no.
Nestea's...
That's a perfect spot for the pylons,
Zerglings
too.
are too late. They need to be out already.
They're coming in here. The Stalker and Zealot overextending a little, and those are going to be forfeit. The 2 Zealots going to camp near this pylon, going to try to keep that safe. Nestea going to wrap around the other side and try to get that damage done onto the pylon. But here comes some more Zealots from Minigun. Nothing but Lings in production here for Nestea. It's 40-40 on the Harvester tab, and this is what we talked about. But the Roach Warren just now finishing, and 3 Roaches in production. But we see a supply block here from Nestea, and 4 Overlords at once being made.
Oh, this could be Minigun's chance. 3 Roaches should be enough to hold this attack off. But remember, this isn't an all-in.
Right.
Minigun's goal is to slow down the droning, and we can see it's paid off. Nestea only at 38 drones right now. That's an extremely low number. He'd really want to be much higher. Minigun, meanwhile, is following us up with the robotics tech. So he's keeping Nestea. He's forcing Nestea to invest in these low-tech units, the Roaches, the Speedlings, and then those low-tech units are going to be weak against the Immortal Sentry combination that's going to follow up this attack.
I feel like all these Zealots are going to end up falling. The Ling's going to clean them up, as well as those 2 Roaches going to be helping out. Units lost. Can take a glance at that. It's 1375 to 1056. Now, in the grand scheme of things, if you're talking about the Zealots, they're not very impactful as far as the game goes along. But we're seeing Aspire in production here from Nestea. So Nestea feeling very confident that that's the end of the pressure. That's the end of the aggression. Feeling comfortable. He's like, all right, I'm going to start saving us some resources and go for those Mutalisks. The question is this the right choice? Because behind this, look at this, Minigun adding on the Immortals, adding on a bunch of gateways, making a bunch of sentries, and just now, Nestea's going to spot that. So does he stick with his plan of stepping up for Mutas, or does he go back into the Ling Roach production?
I think the Mutas are the correct decision right now because he killed all those Zealots. He has enough Speedings now. Minigun's army isn't big enough. He can't move out on the map for at least another half a minute. By the time Minigun can cross the map, the Mutas are going to be out. Nestea can either mass Spine Crawlers, he can just overwhelm his Muta count with his superior gas income, or he could even just play a pure base race style. I think Minigun really needed those Zealots he warped in at the start to help this army move out and be to accelerate the process of setting up those proxy pylons. If you could have even defended the pylon he'd already set up and wait for the reinforcements to come in, this attack could be hitting much, much sooner. As is, though, 9, 10 Mutas are already in production, and this attack from Minigun, I think it can work if he identifies and warps enough Stalkers, but again, the counterattacks and the potential mass spine defense is really what's going to be very tough for Minigun to break.
I'm a little surprised he hasn't sent a hallucinated Phoenix forward to try to scout what his opponent's doing.
Minigun's third. Look at Minigun's third.
Yeah, there's a counterattack.
Oh, there's a pack of units, and then Nestea, he's massing so many Spine Crawlers in his natural. Minigun's going to come in there.
No.
He's going to be happy to kill the third base of Nestea, but that's going to be abandoned. And Mutas, they're just circling around. They're going to the left side. Perfect decision from Nestea going for the mass spine to the natural and the counterattack. The one thing Minigun has going for him is he has recall. He could kill the third, recall out. If he doesn't recall very quickly, he's going to be in trouble because that natural will fall quickly to the Mutalist threat.
Nestea keeping most of his drones alive. Now he's only at 48, so it's not like he has a ridiculous amount in the first place. Minigun going to be advancing to the natural expansion. Meanwhile, we have the counterattack here from Nestea targeting down the cannon. Lots of Lings, lots of Mutas there, and Minigun is going to see all the spines. He's going to recall immediately back to his natural expansion to help deal with this attack, and he should be able to do it successfully. This should be enough units to take down these Mutas, and Nestea's going to back away.
Of course, of course. There's no way he can go up against the army head-to-head.
Oh my gosh, he left some units behind, it seems. He's going to try to do some War Prism attack into the main base. 4 Zealots being warped in, but Zealots or Mutalisks are there, and Zealots do not shoot up. They're going to try to target down
and 4
some
Stalkers was well being caught off guard. And, you know, when it's 2-base to 2-base, every unit really, really counts. Minigun taking this opportunity to move back out on the map. This is a very hard position as Protoss because if you don't force the Mutas to be on the Zerg side of the map, it can be very, very tricky to defend because you don't have Blink yet. You're behind in tech. But on the other hand, If you just stay back and turtle up, the Zerg has total map control. They can build nothing but drones and hatcheries. That's exactly what Nestea is doing. Rebuilding a third, cranking out massive numbers of drones. But Minigun, of course, no longer having that recall ability, wants to make sure that he defends his third base because he knows there's that spine wall, so he can't actually kill Nestea.
Now, Daybreak, there's a lot of room in between that main and third base. It is very tough to try to defend both locations, especially considering the Mutas can dip and dodge between each base. So Minigun has to essentially have perfect control. He hasn't started Blink yet, interestingly enough, so we'll keep an eye on that. Decent amount of Stalkers here in the main base. There's a Photon Overcharge onto the Nexus, and Nestea's going to back away for now.
Man, without that Photon Overcharge, all those Stalkers would have gone down. Instrumental in defense, but no, the Stalkers overextend!
Every Stalker is so important at this point in time. Minigun needs perfect control to be able to hold off all of these Mutas, and Nestea just keeps adding more and more. He's getting thrown on the Guardian Shield, engage these Mutas. I like how he's distributing his units right here. Keeping
very
units at the third, keeping Stalkers at his main base. Nestea trying to find an opening to do damage, but Minigun doing a decent job so far.
What's going well for Minigun is, remember, Nestea was only on 2 hatcheries for quite a while, but when he lost his third, he spent so much minerals on spines, so he doesn't have a high speedling count. In this situation, if the Zerg has a high amount of speedlings, if they combine the speedlings and Mutas and strike at your third base, it's very difficult to stop that because the speedlings tank all the damage and the Mutas take out the sentries. But as is Minigun with a great defense so far.
Oh no, gosh, +1 has finished onto the Mutas. Stalkers essentially melting away, trying to flee from the scene of the crime. Blink is not yet done, only 7% of the way done. Probes are extremely vulnerable here in the main base. So many Mutas on the field for Nestea. The Mothership Core gets taken out, and Minigun is getting spread out by these Mutas.
This is a terrible position for Minigun. The Blink is still not yet done. It's still under research. Probe after probe is going down. Now the Muta's heading back to the third. That's where most of his probes are. He only has sentries to defend. Nestea is just going to go straight for the probe line, I think.
Guardian Shield going down here from Minigun, trying to shoo these Mutas away, and finally they're going to back up. Income tab, Minigun down to 45 Harvesters, but Nestea doing a great job, taking a fourth base, adding on drones, keeping up with his upgrades on his Lings and his Mutas. 7 more Mutas in production, so he's going to be up at 30 Mutas. And no advancement into the Templar tech here from Minigun, throwing down a Dark Shrine. That might be his only way back into us. Of course, he could also use the Dark Shrine to make Archons, which are very helpful against Mutas, but I don't know what stops Mutas from just coming into the main and spotting that, maybe even sniping it.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough to cover all 3 bases. He does have Blink Tech now. Now, Nestea is significantly ahead in this game, but this is almost reminiscent of, I remember, an old Nestea versus Huck game on Toldrim Alter, where Nestea was like, is the same situation. He was way ahead. He ended at 7 bases to 3. But one thing that Nestea has shown before, when he gets to the super late game, sometimes he's not so careful with his units. So if Minigun can turtle a game out, get a lot of Psy Storm, he could have the potential to make a comeback with some monster storms, maybe taking out the Mutas, come up with a series of storms, but first he's got to get to that late game.
A bunch of Stalkers coming into the main base here. A pylon powering 3 Warp Gates is going to be sniped away. And Nestea going to be backing up. Still no advancement into Templar tech. Minigun is pretty much going to be relying on these Dark Templars. I'm going to be checking on detection here. None at the 4th, none at the 3rd.
Nestea hasn't seen it yet.
None at the natural. But you have to be able to get the DCs across the map, and all the forward pylons are essentially taken out here. And the War Prism from before is also dead.
Man, these Mutas are just totally fearless. Nestea knows he has a good count. Some great blinks by Minigun, though. Actually, I think he only lost 2 or 3 Stalkers for 2 or 3 Mutas, so that's not a bad trade. But remember, with Nestea on 5 bases, trading 1-to-1 Muta for Stalker is actually no problemo at all for Nestea.
Absolutely. I'm still seeing no spores. Oh, 1 spore has just been made here from Nestea.
Nestea's thinking, how can I lose? Oh, he's making Overseer, too.
Gosh, 2 Overseers.
Oh, the 4 DTs, they're spreading themselves out. 3 are going over the top. They might get past here.
Definitely keep an eye on that. We have a little engagement, a little skirmish here in the middle of the map. Minigun looking to engage. We have a War Prism production as well. DT starting to make their way across the map. No detection here. Okay, there is an Overseer in the middle line. 1 DT going to be taken out in an instant. 1 going to be going into the main base. 1 going into the 3rd base. And a lot of drones are going to have to be ran away here. Minigun not doing a terrible job, but I think he needs to do more.
He does need to do more. A couple drone kills and forcing the drones to leave the main is not going to cut it. Maybe he can focus on the Spire, actually. There's nothing there to defend the main. DT is still doing damage, but the big story here is Minigun's 3rd dying to that counterattack. DT at the main is not doing nearly the damage that these Mutas are.
I'm wondering, does he just at this point say, all right, enough is enough, I have a decent unit composition. I'm just going to counter base trade mode engage. Is that even possible with all the spines
no, it's
that
not.
were made earlier? I'm just wondering, what are the options here for Minigun?
Honestly, there's enough mutas. His army can't beat the mutas. There's 48 mutalists versus 16 stalkers and like 1 Archon and a handful of sentries. Nestea could attack with this army and just annihilate it. His mutas are well upgraded. Minigun, of course, losing that forgery, so does upgrades. He's only at 2 attack this late in the game. He's going to try to make it happen, but the Archon goes down. Without that, as soon as the muta's flying, it's going to be very tough for Minigun to continue this fight.
It's only a matter of time before Nestea decides to engage with this ridiculous mass of mutas, and the time is now. Nestea heading straight for Minigun's army. Not a lot of anti-air here, only about 11 or 12 stalkers. There's the GG from Minigun, and Nestea takes game number 1 of this best of 3, where it all started with a hatchery from Nestea made in his opponent's natural expansion.
It really did, you know. The other thing that was big that game is Minigun put on that +1 Zealot pressure.
Yeah.
And the goal of that is, of course, to force roaches out of your opponent. But Nestea only made 3 roaches. And he was able to hold off that pressure. You know, it's one of those situations. It was. It was kind of a weird guessing game because Minigun stopped warping in additional Zealots. Because he assumed, you know, Nestea would get the additional roaches, so instead he went Immortal Sentry to counter the roaches. But Nestea, he stopped at 3. So if Minigun really committed, warped in up to like 12 +1 Zealots, Nestea might have been in trouble. But as it is, it was a great counter to the way Minigun was following up that build, and the mutas just totally took control of the map.
Yeah, you know, PvZ is almost a game of mind games in a sense, as far as that's concerned, where you're trying to force your opponent to do something while you do something to counter that. Of course, Nestea getting the better end of that deal, and he's able to take game number 1. Guys, we're going to go to a quick break, but remember, this is a best of 3. Minigun, he must win 2 in a row here to advance to the winner's match. Guys, stay tuned. Game 2 coming up.